Hey, what's going on, everybody? Happy Friday. Welcome back to Stoppage Time. It's me, Rob Ryan, and Jem and Willa somewhere back there with me on this week's episode of Stoppage Time. Joyful, grateful, happy to be here, and happy to talk about the things that have been on my mind this week. So there basically been three things on my mind all week, but there's kind of two themes, and the themes are just my gratitude and my optimism. But the things that are on my mind are my efforts related to fundraising from our community for the Storytellers Company, which you know I've been working on for the last 2 weeks. I've been talking about it here for a bit. And I gotta tell you, man, like just so much gratitude that essentially a week and a half into our efforts, 2/3 of the people that we've contacted have said yes and jumped on board and are investing in us, investing in me, investing in my vision of creating a production company that focuses on just telling better and more diverse human stories in the entrepreneurial economies that we all live and work in, and looking at life, all of our lives, through this lens of entrepreneurial thinking that we love to talk about on our show, and doing that across as many different multiple mediums as is possible. So 2/3 of you all jumped in and said yes, and even the folks that weren't able to do it at this time or said no thank you, the words of encouragement that have come from them are honestly just fueled my spirit. So I've been deeply embedded in that all week this week. It's consuming my work. It's pretty much all I'm focused on. So as you can tell also by my beard, I promised my team, I promised Deanna that I was going to shave the beard before this episode, but then realized I'm over here at my daughter's house watching the dogs this week, and I do not have, there's one of the dogs right behind me, I do not have my razor with me, so couldn't shave. But I am also just grateful for the beard because it's the summer break beard. And I allow myself once a year during the summer period, when I have a break, when I don't have any interviews scheduled for the show, when I don't have any other meetings scheduled with people that I don't know, when I'm not going out in public really much, honestly, I just let it go, because otherwise just I'm beating the hell out of my skin 24/7. And as I age, it's more and more work to try and keep up this beautiful appearance of mine. So I'm enjoying and grateful for the summer beard. And I'm sure at some point here in the next week or two, it'll go away. So as I've been immersed in this fundraising effort and the work all week and last week, it's just, again, it's been so gratifying, and I'm so optimistic about our future. And that's really kind of the two big themes of this week is my gratitude for life and just general the idea of gratitude and its importance in our lives, and just my optimism. And as you've heard me say before, either on our Entrepreneurial Thinker show, in my social media writings, in my journaling that I share with you all on social media, or here on this show, right, I'm a pragmatic optimist. What is a pragmatic optimist? A pragmatic optimist is a person that basically chooses to lean into what's possible while still being very keenly aware of all the conditions on the ground around them. And I think every entrepreneur should be a pragmatic optimist. I think the world needs more entrepreneurial thinkers, as I tell you all the time on our show. And I think the magical combination of pragmatic optimism and being an entrepreneurial thinker is like, that's what literally gives us leaders who will change the world. So I've had that on my mind, and I've had the Olympics on my mind, and I've had moving into my new apartment on my mind. And that's pretty much been it, honestly. And then the dogs, because they just keep me busy here, doing my dog grandpa thing that I do whenever the kids travel, which they are gratefully having an opportunity to do, to get themselves some rest and relaxation after a crazy, busy, intense summer and an intense period of life that's coming up here soon for them. So here I am with the dogs, but I'll talk about how the Olympics, because I am obsessed with the Olympics. I am a Summer Olympics fiend. I'm 56 years old, which means, if you do the math, I was born in the summer of 1968, in June of 1968. And I was therefore born about 2-3 months before. The Olympics were a little bit later. They were in October in '68 in Mexico City. Famously controversial and also like culturally relevant, important moment in both Olympic history and world history, when there were a number of social protests that roiled Mexico City but also there were some social protests within the games, famously by some American track athletes, which has lived on in perpetuity of both Olympic memory and lore, as well as just our sports culture here in the U.S. and on a global basis. And so I am beyond excited. The Olympics start this week. The opening ceremonies are today from Paris, the Paris 24 Games. I think it's the 100th year anniversary of them having hosted it previously in 1924. But if you think about my lifespan, I was born before the 68 games, but obviously I didn't watch them. At least I don't remember watching them. But one of my first television memories, one of my first memories of a television in my life, and of like a cognitive memory, was at about 4-ish years old, a little bit over 4 years old, the summer of '72, the Munich games, which were tragic for their own reasons, when terrorism overtook the games and a number of terrorists who had invaded the athletes' village in Munich in '72 tried to make some political statements that they were making a protest and wound up killing a number of Israeli athletes. So it's a tragic moment in world history and in the history of the Olympic Games. The 76 games in Montreal, where we had a Mark Spitz set all kinds of swimming records for the U.S. The 80 games, which famously we boycotted as Americans, the American Olympic team, American politically in that moment, boycotted the games. And fascinatingly, decades later, I would wind up becoming friends with a gentleman, a dad of another teen girl while I was raising Riley, that was an athlete for that 80s team and had his Olympic dreams crushed by not being able to go and compete in those games. The 84 games, which was the first time they were here in LA, not the first time, they were here in LA, but it was the first time I have a memory of watching that and thinking to myself, like, holy cow, there's a place that looks like that, where people live like that, and it's sunny and it's beautiful, and that's the Coliseum where I know USC plays football because I'm a Notre Dame fan and I watched Notre Dame play USC on TV as a kid from Chicago. And so this teenage version of me was already kind of maybe planting some of those early seeds that the Rose Bowl similarly did for my memories, into thinking that there was a place I could live. But who knew that I would later spend now the majority of my life living in Southern California, raising my daughter here, both of us living here now. So 84 games, it's a great memory. 88, Korea, 92, the famous Dream Team games, which obviously globalized world basketball. My friend Mags on social media today posted a statistic that showed how many foreign-born non-US players were in the Olympics, or NBA players, non-US NBA players were in the Olympics, all total teams, like 92 or 94 or something versus today, and it's like, you know, like exponentially more players. And that was the Olympics. It was famously credited with bringing the game of basketball kind of to the world, right, and scaling it up from there. So those games, the 92 Dream Team games in Spain, the 96 games in Atlanta, again struck by tragedy, terrorism, a bombing incident, killed some people, injured a bunch of people tragically there at Centennial Park. 2000, 2004, 2008, 2012 in London. My daughter was actually in London, I think, around the Olympics time, or came home just before the Olympics time. 2016 Rio, wow, what an incredible game, beautiful, in South America for one of the first times, or the first time, and then obviously the strange COVID affected 2020, which became 2021 games in Tokyo, and then voila, here we are in 2024, and I am literally blocking out time on my calendar, on my Google Calendar, so that I don't have appointment schedule over certain things that I want to watch, certain sports I want to watch, matches I want to watch. Super excited to watch the women's U.S. women's national team open up play this week. I just love the Summer Olympics. And I'm grateful every time it's on. There is something to me, to tie this all together, there is something to me about the Olympics that just breeds optimism in a world that is so divided, that is so kind of competitively divisive, politically divisive, frankly just so angry and grievance filled all the time lately, especially in these last, say, 10 years. The Olympics even if people disagree with them and why do we do them and why do we spend money on things like this, I get it, that's fine, you can feel that way, but for me it is an opportunity that sports brings together people and creates storylines, and it's human, And in some ways it's entrepreneurial, right? In the sense that athletes are entrepreneurs, as we've talked about on our show with like our guests like Peter Abraham on recent episodes. And it's optimistic, right? There's a hopefulness that comes out of these 3 weeks that happen every 4 years from a Summer Olympic standpoint. Not a huge Winter Olympics fan, but Summer Olympics are big for me. But that got me thinking, since I thought so much about the Olympics this week, that got me thinking about the incredible episode that we finally dropped this week. It's kind of ironically timed that it dropped this week on Entrepreneurial Thinkers with Robin Ward. We've referenced bits and ideas from the show, themes from the show for weeks now because we recorded it. She and I recorded our conversation weeks ago. I'm so grateful for our friendship here in Los Angeles. I'm so grateful for her leadership coaching that she does. And she talks a lot about that, but she's also, as you know, she's on the avant-garde of women's sports and the growth and investment in women's sports here through the relationships and then her literal investment of her own money into our NWSL franchise, Angel City, which you hear me talk about here all the time. And to share that episode finally with everybody is so exciting. And I'm so grateful for her time giving to us and sharing. It's a little bit of a long episode. It dropped on our audio platforms as always on Thursday, and then the video drop will happen on YouTube next week. You can probably hear the dog in the background getting some water. But I'm so grateful for that. I'm so excited for you to share in that conversation. At her core, fundamentally, and these are my words, not hers. I don't know that she would describe herself this way, but I fundamentally believe that Robin leads and lives in a perpetual state of gratitude, as well as not only is she an incredible entrepreneurial thinker, as we talked about, but I also think she's a pragmatic optimist. And I think I say that because I believe she and I share a lot of traits. And fundamentally, as I described it, pragmatic optimism is both this kind of operational awareness of the realities of what's going on around you, and she is that 100%. That is kind of her core Midwestern ethic. Is this idea that like I'm not fanciful, I'm not faked out by the bullshit. Like I see the truth, but at the same token, she chooses to take that pragmatism that she stands on and just lean into the world of what's possible. And you know, she has reinvented her life, much like I've reinvented my life in this stage of our lives. She, in the most amazing, love-filled way you could possibly do it, by adopting her incredible, beautiful baby boy, her young son Ryder, who is all over her social media all the time. And I've never had a chance to yet meet him, but I hope to someday, because he's just this special little bundle of joy that has changed her life, and I know she is changing his life. But just how she works, how she leads, how she coaches others to lead, how she works and moves kind of in our community, and then just the example that she leads and lives as a woman in our society, which is not an easy thing to do as a single mom now, which is an even doubly difficult thing to do. So much love and gratitude for her, so much respect for her, and frankly, I think she just anchors the theme this week of gratitude and optimism, right? And the final bit that's been on my mind, the third thing that's been on my mind all week, and in addition to the fundraising work for the Storytellers Company, in addition to my excitement and enthusiasm for the next 3 weeks of Olympic fandom, is moving into my new apartment. This is not my new apartment. This is my daughter and her fiance Henry's apartment. Beautiful place, right here in Los Feliz. I'm grateful to every time I get a chance to come over here to the east side, so to speak, right in the shadow of Griffith Park, and take care of the dogs while they're traveling. But I moved into my own apartment, as you may have seen me post on social media this past weekend. And I got to tell you, I woke up Sunday morning after my first night staying there. It's completely empty. I have a chair, a couple of side chairs, one nicer side chair, and then I bought and put together a bed. And that's it. And that's probably all that's going to be in there for a bit until I can get myself together in this transition and afford to start to furnish it and design it. But I woke up Sunday morning and I just sat there in my chair, looking out over the emptiness of the apartment in the quietude of like 6:30 in the morning on a Sunday in my neighborhood that I love in Central Hollywood. And I was just really grateful. I was grateful for the journey that my life has taken me on. It's led me to most of the people that would be watching this. It's given me so much experience. I won't kill you with the whole story, but you know, if you go back 8-9 years, almost 9 years, 8.5 years ago, I seized on an opportunity, on a moment to move to South America and literally explore reinventing my life, and did so, and built a business around it. narrowed my life down to a big suitcase and 2 backpacks. And as we say in tech, we talk about software as a service, or SaaS. I essentially created a LAS, I called it, like life as a service, and have lived that way, kind of experientially, experimentally, nomadically, out of those 3 bags for most of the last 8.5 years. I came back to Southern California right at the beginning of the pandemic and was home. I came home very intentionally, but I maintained this kind of light touch, no stuff, minimalist, no ownership of things, and material possessions kind of lifestyle, because it has suited me, served me immensely well. It's dramatically changed how I look at life and what's important to me and where I put my energies. And yet at the same token, kind of last summer, end of last year, as I reinvigorated and explored my beliefs about my professional life and ultimately gave birth to now what we're doing with the Storytellers Company and committing my next 10 to 20 year chapter to this, I also kind of started feeling at the beginning of this year that it was time to plant some roots again, and have a sense of place. And in the modern day world, unfortunately, that also means for me, then you have to buy stuff. And so I'm going to have to fill my space, my home. I'm going to have to turn it from a beautiful, empty, remodeled apartment in my historic 100-year-old building in Hollywood into a home. And that's going to mean I'm going to put some stuff in there that's going to be my stuff, that's going to represent me. Although I don't suspect I'm going to put a lot of stuff in there, because I just don't see myself being in that mode ever again in my life. But I woke up really grateful for that. I'm grateful for the opportunity. I'm grateful for the kind of serendipity of how that situation presented itself to me. I'm excited for people to come and share with it, for friends and family and people to visit and spend time in my house in a way that has not been a part of my life in the last 10 years. So just a lot of gratitude and optimism this week. I think fundamentally, as I said, the Olympics are an optimistic time. Anytime you move into a new place, a new home, a new neighborhood, a new city, a new town, a new country, a new apartment, it's a chance for fresh optimism, kind of like a fresh coat of paint. And so I'm excited about that. I'm obviously excited and thrilled about what we're doing with the Storytellers Company. We've got a long way to go. I still need your help to get involved, to raise the capital, to stand this up so that I can just solely focus on this, and really, really get after it with an earnestness and an enthusiasm that I know our team has locked up and ready to go. But I'm also just already grateful for the involvement of people that have said yes to us, the 2/3 of the folks that we've touched base with. And so I welcome all the conversations that are yet to come, and I'm super excited about that. But in the spirit of all this, I have a book. It's called The Rational Optimist. I'd like to share it with you. I'd like you to go check it out. I actually just finished this one in the spring. It's by a guy named Matt Ridley. It's a practical, kind of entrepreneurial, so it ties this all together. It's an entrepreneurial, kind of economics based, rooted look at life and the world, but with an optimistic bent, in a practical way. So for me, he could have written and called it The Pragmatic Optimist. Instead, he called it The Rational Optimist. I really think you'll enjoy it. I think if you are anything like me or like Robin, you'll read it and you'll come away with maybe a little bit of a positive, optimistic bent on what's possible and what's to come, as opposed to kind of the dominant narrative of the last couple hundred years, and especially the last 10 years or so in our discourse, which is so negative and so toxic and so, I call it, enragement, engagement, and so confrontational and so almost doom loopy. I challenge you to read Matt's book and not come away with kind of an optimistic view for the future. So that's our stoppage time. I wish you nothing but love, peace, joy, happiness, and maybe just a pinch of optimism, founded upon a base of gratitude, as you head into next week. And who knows what's going to be on my mind next week, but we do definitely know that there's going to be a lot of Olympics on my mind next week. So love y'all, peace, have a great weekend.